The great tipping debate is getting real spicy as Americans across the country are now feeling pressure to not only tip human beings, meaning actual workers, but to now tip machines during self-checkout. This is actually happening. So the Wall Street Journal reported on this, and I want to give you examples to prove that this is real. So prompts to leave 20% at self-checkout machines at airports, stadiums, cookie shops, and cafes across the country are rankling consumers already inundated by the proliferation of tip screens. So I want to be clear, I'm not talking about you going to a cashier, paying for whatever you're buying from the cashier, and then seeing a screen that asks you for a tip. That happens quite often. No, I'm talking about you're at the grocery store or at the airport, and the entire process is human free. It's just you and a machine, you're doing self-checkout. You will be greeted in many cases with a screen asking you if you would like to leave a tip, which I personally think is insane. So Square, whose technology powers many iPad point of sale machines, says tipped transactions were up 17% year over year at full service restaurants and 16% at quick service restaurants in the fourth quarter of 2022. And so labor experts are arguing, well, yeah, the employers here are thinking to themselves, if I can collect a little extra money by doing very little, just having this option available to people during self-checkout, why wouldn't I do it? And one senior at American University who spoke to the Wall Street Journal about this made the best point in the piece, quote, they're cutting labor costs by doing self-checkout. So what's the point of asking for a tip and where is it going? And some of the employers who spoke to the Wall Street Journal about this argue, no. We actually, we like to create, even though you're doing self-checkout, we like to create a nice environment at our place of service, at our company. And so when you tip, we put it in we put it all together and then we pass it out among our staff, which there are no labor laws ensuring that they do that. So I want to be clear about that too. There's nothing that would enforce them sharing that money with the workers because there are no labor laws pertaining to tipping machines.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a loophole. So there's 8 different problems with this. One is that the law says you can't cheat the workers on tips, but if it goes through a machine, it's a loophole. So you could say, well, they didn't tip the workers, they tipped a machine, so I can take the money, right? Now the companies, some of the companies involved say, we assure you that we're not doing that. First of all, I don't believe any of your assurances, so save it. But okay, but for the sake of argument, let's assume that they're telling the truth. But that doesn't solve the issue at all. If you feel like, oh, well, what do you mean? The tip goes, if they're being honest, it goes to the workers, and I want the workers, even if they're in the back and making the pastries, etc., I want them to get tips. No, guys, what they're trying to do is get you to pay the salaries of their employees, because they're getting X amount of money no matter what. When they add in the tips, X becomes larger. Okay, it becomes X plus 2 or whatever. First of all, just more revenue for the company is already a win for them. That already increases their valuation and other metrics that they're judged by. So boom, they got more revenue from you. 2, they don't have to pay their employees as much because they could say, well, it's okay because look at all these tips you're getting. So that way they get to save money that they would have paid the employees instead of you. Third of all, there are no employees, it's a freaking computer. Okay, and to me, I hate those things. Like, I didn't come here to work for your little grocery store within the airport or whatever the frick this thing is, okay? I came to buy something. Oh, no, you have to now work. You have to enter in the code, you have to do this, you have to do that. That's because they wanted to cut the employees in the first place. So don't tell me that you're doing this for the employees when those machines allowed you to fire your employees in the first place.
Exactly. First off, they shift the labor onto you, the consumer, and you are providing free labor for these companies that are using the self-checkout model, right? Now I get it, some people like self-checkout, so they don't mind providing that free labor, but please don't tip the machine. Like, I'm begging you guys, like, it is amazing how easy it is to manipulate people in this country by shaming them. So people are terrified of being shamed for not tipping the machine, and they're tipping the machine. Don't tip the machine. Do not normalize this. Do not feel shame for refusing to tip a machine at a company that is now forcing you to do self-checkout because they wanted to save labor costs, because they wanted to fire some portion of their workforce. Let's just keep it real. That is what's really happening here. But they'll feel the shame. I mean, I'll give you a few examples. Let's go to graphic 5 here. Chaya Tacos in Washington, D.C. also prompts self-service customers to leave a tip. One of the customers, Miss Jamar, the American University senior, says she tips if a friend or employee can see the screen because she's worried about the friend or employee at the company seeing that she says no. First of all, if you have friends like that, find better friends. Secondly, oh, well, what employee? You're doing self-checkout. Like, what are you talking about? And if you're talking about someone who, sometimes there's one person who kind of stands by the machines in case something goes awry. No, I would flip the screen over, show it to the employee and say, no, you deserve a better job, you deserve better pay, and we shouldn't be providing free labor for this company.
Yeah.
Period.
So look, there's 3 different things that they're doing here. For some folks, they're using shame, like, oh, somebody oversees you not tipping, right? So that's the anecdote that Anna was just telling about. For others, they're using a guilt trip, like even if no one's looking, well, I guess if you don't want to be nice to the workers, says the corporate executive who put that machine in there to fire workers. So don't buy into their guilt trip, even if no one else is looking. But most importantly, thirdly, they're weaponizing your good nature against you.
100%.
So you're a good person and you want to help fellow employees, especially you work in the service industry or you didn't, you just empathize with human beings. You think, I guess there's somebody back there somewhere and I want to help them. But it's not your job to pay their salary. It's their employer's job to pay their salary. The tip was originally supposed to be, okay, you've got your salary, but God, you did such a spectacular job, I'm gonna give more on top.
Or your wages. And it was specifically for people working in the food industry, the food service industry, I should say, because there's a loophole to minimum wage for service workers, unfortunately, in some states, right? Where because of the restaurant industry's lobbying, you can literally pay them way below minimum wage in many states. Some states have passed laws to prevent that from happening. For instance, in California, everyone makes whatever the state minimum wage is, including service workers, right? But aside from that, the tips were meant to subsidize the workers because of how little they were getting paid in their wages. If we're talking about grocery store workers, they don't deal with that loophole.
Yeah, and guys, and if you're talking about the guys making the pastries in the back, the tips were supposed to be for the service industry. That doesn't mean you don't pay the bakers. That means the company pays the bakers, okay? They're not in the service industry. I want them making as much as humanly possible. I want a much higher minimum wage. I want better wages for everyone. I hate corporate rule, but corporations shifting that responsibility onto us rather than them doesn't help the situation at all. It's gotten so absurd. We did a story a couple of weeks ago about now landlords are demanding tips. No tips for landlords and no tips for rando machines that actually stole someone's job. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.